And I'm representing Black Lives Matter. Again, if you're just tuning in and you just heard about this, we are having an emergency panel on the decision that just came down about Breonna Taylor's case. We're all angry. We are all dissatisfied with what has happened. And we need to have actions, but we need to have actions that get us to the end goal. So I'm going to quickly introduce who's here today. We have Tiffany representing KFTC. We have Ashley Carter representing the Advancement Project. We have Jacory Arthur, and we have Casa Heron. You can look at this on the Black Market page on Facebook, as well as the Black Lives Matter Louisville page, and comment there. We have someone moderating the comments. We're really just gonna get into it. There's a lot going on, and we want to make sure folks have the space to say what they need. Now, let's see. Yeah, so the big thing is we have a bunch of demands. These are not new demands. These are things we've been asking for. Ashley from Advancement Project is going to get into that, but we want to do some high-level talking points just so folks understand the situation. We here in Louisville and outside of Louisville stand together fighting against white supremacy. That can feel crazy. That can feel scary. That can feel like your life is under threat, and that's going to happen. There are different levels of getting involved. Don't feel like if you're not directly in the streets marching that you're not still part of the movement. People need childcare. People need food. People need access. Right now, Kroger is closing early and they've barricaded several entrances, making a fire hazard for folks in the West End. There's so many ways to plug in. Our fight is vital for our survival, and we want a direct manifestation of what winning looks like. And much like Harriet Tubman was fighting against slavery, and people thought that was impossible. People thought her imagination was too radical. We too must have radical imaginations in this space in order for us to continue this legacy, in order to make sure that people like Daniel Cameron don't get to decide what Black life is worth. All right. Making sure people plugged in. This are not going to give us justice. So it's not we thought that something miraculous was going to happen and suddenly Mr. Cameron would lift up from the sunken place and say, you know what? I recognize that I'm melanated as well, and I'm going to fight for my people. They don't get to decide what's possible. We do, because we are the majority. Despite the false narrative that we are a minority, we're actually the majority. All right. And we're going to win only by building community power that invests both tax dollars and resources into our well-being. We absolutely refuse to stop in this moment, regardless of who's involved, regardless of what the police say, because as we heard from Cameron today, the police investigated themselves and found themselves essentially not guilty. We don't accept that. We as Black people, we as Indigenous people, we are not going to accept that. And I know I got super hyped real quick, and I'm only supposed to be moderating, so we're going to get into it. Now that you've heard a little bit about the narrative, I want to kick it over to Ashley at the Advancement Project, who will talk about our demands.
So the community has come up with the following demands. Immediately fire and revoke the pensions of the officers that murdered Breonna Taylor. Divest from the Louisville Metro Police Department and invest in community building, immediate resignation or impeachment of Mayor Greg Fisher, Metro Council, and also demanding that the Metro Council ends use of force by Louisville Metro Police Department. We demand that police shootings be considered gun violence, and that a local civilian community police accountability council that is independent from the mayor's office and the Louisville Metro Police Department be developed with investigation and discipline power. We also demand the creation of policy to ensure transparent investigation processes.
All right, thank you, Ashley. And we'll be posting that all over social media. It is absolutely imperative that we share this out and that we understand what each one of those things mean. So I'm going to kick it over to Jacory in just a second to talk about some of the things that Ashley just mentioned with the demand, some of the things we've been doing on the ground and ways people can support. So Jacory, kick it over to you.
Well, as you just said, you don't have to necessarily just be in the streets protesting to demand justice. And I'll go further along than that. We don't need you in the streets protesting. We need you protesting at your Thanksgiving dinner. We need you protesting every holiday, telling your aunts and uncles and your mother, your grandmother, and your family about injustice that's been happening not only these past few months, but these past few hundred years. So that's very important as we talk about injustice in this new age, especially with our newly woke white friends. But as far as the work that's been taking place, what people have to realize is that police terrorism is one layer of an entire cake of oppression that exists, not only in this city, but across this country. And what that means is, yes, police terrorism is an issue, but that also means that we are stuck in food apartheids that sisters on this call are working to fight against, that we need you to work to fight against. So when we say divest from police, it's not just about taking money from them just for the sake of it. It's about taking money from them and giving money to the people that they have terrorized, demonized, and ghettoized for the past 2 centuries plus in Louisville and 4 centuries plus in the country, the United States of America. So when you go to investdivest.org, when you go to Black Lives Matter socials, when you go to our website, when you go to any group that's affiliated with justice in Louisville and you see their work, it is an entire spectrum of justice that includes police terrorism, but it also includes food justice, which I can't wait to hear more about from Casa, and I can't wait to hear more about from Sean Treese. But it includes laws being changed and running for political office to change some of these laws. Because even if we got back today that Daniel Cameron was not indicting the officers or was indicting the officers, that doesn't change the fact that there are still a long list of policies that need to go into that new police contract to make sure this never happens again. And that's long term, that's transformational, and we need to be thinking about that as we think about this moment.
Yeah, thank you, Ja'Cory. That's powerful. So I'm gonna just say again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the demands that we have. If you're outside of Kentucky, you may not know the decision came down about the Breonna Taylor case, and the decision was made not to indict any of the officers for murder, which is what happened. We got a lot of conversation from Daniel Cameron, but not a lot of support. And so we want to make sure that we keep this going. Some of the hashtags to use.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get you brighter.
You're good. You can leave it back there. It's okay. They ain't got to see me. I'm not famous. It don't matter. So some of the hashtags to use while folks are on the live, while folks are supporting: defund police, say her name, invest, divest, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Bree. And if y'all can drop in the chat these hashtags that I'm using and amplify this, share it out with the hashtags. Justice for David McAtee, who was also killed by law enforcement. Divest from LMPD, Black Lives Matter Louisville, Black Lives Matter, defend Black lives, wanted by the police, BLM Louisville, BLM, keep going. So yeah, we're gonna go right into the next phase. And a little bit later, in case you missed it, we'll have Ashley from Advancement Project talk about the demands again. For right now, we're gonna go ahead and just go into comms. I'm gonna start off with Casa, and we're gonna talk about essentially what sort of message needs to go out, as well as what we're doing here on the ground in Louisville that folks can amplify.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I want to mention really quickly to folks that it's really important in this moment to find an organizing home. Who's your family? Who's your base? What are you doing work with? Whether it's a block of folks on your block, it's your homegirls that you hang out with. Hopefully you're connected to BLM or another organizing group, the Kentucky Alliance. I chair the Kentuckians for the Commonwealth. We're a statewide organization that does work. We have a Jefferson County chapter. You're welcome to join us there. And I'm also the chair and president of the Louisville Association for Community Economics. And in that work, we're building the Louisville Community Grocery. As everybody knows in this city and in the state, that there is a difference between how people access food. If you live within the Waterston and you live outside of the Waterston, if you live downtown, if you live in West Louisville, people don't have access to basic things, homes and food. And that's the work that people are doing on the ground. And we want you and want everyone to be engaged and find you a home to do work, whatever that looks like for you. In this moment, we're asking people to change their profile photos of Breonna Taylor that has the hashtags and the demands on them. Check out BLM's social media for that. When you're passing in your community, pass out masks, pass out lists of the demands. Talk to your Metro Council people. When we talk about invest, divest, it's not a thing that's of the future. It's something that can happen now. Our Metro Council people around December and January will start planning for the next Metro budget. It's important that we talk to them and they understand what it means for us when we say invest, divest, and give them actual line item budgets that can be moved. That's the level of work that we have to do. We have to get into the budget and understand what it looks like so that we can tell our Metro Council people who honestly don't know. They don't know that when we say defund, we mean defund. We mean defund so that we can create a new system by which we have public safety, not that we're policing the community. And so it's a different kind of conversation. And we have to educate our elected officials as we're also training ourselves to become the next leaders that we're looking for. We're asking folks to pass out, drop off food, non-perishable food at Injustice Square, water, show up at the courthouse, make noise, hold up signs, just find a home and get active. It's time for everyone to get active right now.
Yeah, thank you, Casa. The other thing I'll say is, if you haven't already, like Ja'Cory said, go to investdivest.org. We don't expect you to come up with all this on your own from scratch. We have done a lot of this research and work for you, especially if you're outside Louisville and have a platform. Somebody reached out to me today from Canada, right? There's all these folks who want to get involved. You don't have to start a thing from scratch. We have several targets listed on investdivest.org. The mayor, obviously, you know what I'm saying? You know how I feel about that. Greg Fisher doesn't care about Black people, historically proven. Governor Andy Beshear, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, Humana, Gil Holland, James Graham Brown Foundation, Brown Foreman, Community Foundation of Louisville. And this is not to just be like, oh, y'all racist, and then like, that's it, right? This is to ask them to support our efforts to divest from the police. This is to get Black freedom. And so that we don't have to say Black Lives Matter one day, because the lives will matter, right? We've gone through so much just with Breonna Taylor's case, you know what I'm saying? And it is imperative that we continue to fight. We continue to recognize that we are the majority, as I mentioned earlier. All right, next we're gonna go into the voting space. So we have Tiffany representing KFTC today. Much like me, she is an Indigenous sister who is of course, very upset about how we're treated as a people. A lot of folks don't even realize that Indigenous folks still exist, but we exist too. We here, we loud and we proud. So I'm gonna have Tiffany go through some grounding work with us for a couple minutes, because this is heavy stuff. Like, you're gonna feel it in your chest. You're gonna wanna just not go to work, all this. So we use this space to also have healing. I will also post links about like how you can get some free counseling in this time. We have street medics. We want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. I myself am personally bad at self-care. I just ate breakfast right now and I've been up since like 6 a.m. But we want to do better. And so I'm gonna kick it over to Tiffany.
Thank you, Chantrice. And I really want to emphasize that, like, in Indigenous circles, a lot of times you'll hear us say, defend the sacred. And usually we are referring to things like our water or our land, but it's also very true of people. And I want to very strongly emphasize that Breonna Taylor was sacred. And the lack of defense there is something that we're all angry about, and that your anger is not something that you have to separate from your healing. My people often grieve in ceremony in a way that incorporates all of it. So I invite you to like allow yourself to feel however you feel, because it's hard and it's painful. And I'm even doing this ceremony not coming from a place of complete peace, because I'm grieving as well. So I'm gonna burn some of the sacred medicines that my people use in ceremony to comfort, to protect, to pray. And I'm just gonna bring you into that ceremony with me. And I'm grateful to be here with you. So our 4 sacred medicines are tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar. And they're all used for different things. I've already offered up my tobacco for the day to the ground in prayer, but I will do the others. So we'll start with cedar, and I will burn that in comfort of the people. My tribe burns cedar around funerals to comfort the grieving. So the scent of cedar is it's very comforting to me. It's like this expression of collective feeling, and even when I am away from my tribe, I feel very supported by it. So if you have any cedar trees outside where you live, I would encourage you to spend some time with them today. But I will go ahead and burn some. And I will blow the smoke over the camera, because unfortunately I can't be with you in person. The next sacred medicine that we'll use is sage, and we burn this in protection of the people and in cleansing of evil. And I think it's obvious that there are evils going on in the lack of accountability. So my people use the word Usana'i for evil, but it also means corrupt, which I think is appropriate. So we'll burn this in cleansing of that corruption and in protection of the people of Louisville. And the last one we have is sweetgrass, and we braid sweetgrass in prayer every time. So it's already been imbued with a lot of prayer. But and it smells really beautiful. I wish that you could smell it with me. But as we burn it, it's in prayer for a lot of things, but one of the things that it's definitely in prayer for is truth. And as we are demanding truth to be taken hold, I think it's appropriate to burn it here and allow our prayers for each other and for justice. Thank you. Wada.
Thank you so much for that, Tiffany, for keeping our traditions alive as Indigenous folks, for showing solidarity with Black folks, all around the world who are fighting for justice. For those of you just tuning in, we are responding to the decision that just came down today about the Breonna Taylor case. We've recognized that this fight right now is vital to our survival, and we're going to stand together against white supremacy. We are unyielding in that. We are unflinching in that. And it's going to be a lot. It's heavy. I know I'm struggling today. Thankfully, I have childcare, but we're leaning into this with you. And remember that they don't get to decide what's possible for us. They don't get to decide what our movement looks like. And as long as we continue to push this radical imagination of freedom, we will absolutely succeed. We will absolutely be free. So yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to Chanel Helm, representing Black Lives Matter Louisville, to just give us a little bit of the narrative and get people hyped up about our actions. So Chanel, are you able to check in?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all. I see we twinning today because this moment sets down a lot of realities for us. And I'm thankful for the spiritual practice that just took place. something that has been really sitting with me a little bit uneasy is how well we actually do with what reality has set in for us. And we are really in a moment where people are sending condolences because of the state that we know doesn't deal out justice, didn't provide justice again. And so in that is a cognitive dissonance of wanting to like, I don't know, maybe reform this system. This system is playing exactly the way that the system was created. There isn't another way that the system operates. This system is built off of the genocide of indigenous people. Black people are indigenous stolen people. And so what we see now is a system that is profiting off of Black death and also the incarceration of Black people and children. It is not going to perform any other type of way. This is one half-assed battle that we knew was coming. We knew that was coming. When we steadfast in making sure we eliminate system gears, right? Whether where police live at, how they dress, they got on cameras, what time they go to work, how long they work. Those are just things to support the system. Then you're going to keep getting the same response. We've got to move away from wanting to see a system that is messed up do better. It's not going to do better. It doesn't operate like that. We didn't get here by accident. We are here in the 400th some odd years of fighting for our resistance as Black people and indigenous folks, and we did not survive on accident. This is a moment that we have always known, and we need to be familiar with this moment. The moments that we do need to cherish are the moments when we win, when we do eliminate policing in our neighborhoods, when we do come to end impunity among police unions who think that they supersede any other structure of civilian life, when we do have our elected officials actually call the type of violence that police make violence. We're not getting that right now. They're trained to provide violence against us, even when we exercise our First Amendment rights. We have several different types of law enforcement and military agencies on the streets of Louisville for days, terrorizing not only the people who've been protesting, but the people who are going on as business as usual, people who are going to grocery stores, children who are going to schools. To see that type of military in the United States, in Louisville, is unnerving, but it isn't unnerving for most folks in the world. We've got to come in reality with that we are always going to have law enforcement and our military against us when we are choosing justice and freedom over white supremacy and Trumpism, which is what's taking place right now. We also have to lift up that we have the power. We didn't make it here on believing in the system and marching in church shoes. I dislike when people say that. Those people put their lives on the line, just like people marching today putting their lives on the line. We did that by staying fervent, by making sure that we put the power that we have in our hands. We are asking for the Community Civilian Review Board be put into the neighborhood's hands and out from underneath the city. This city is not in any trustworthy way able to adjudicate any type of justice or any type of fair share of resources for the people that you are restricting resources from, and that you have done that for almost 70 years. This is where we are at. We need people to see where we are at. When we are asking for support and when we are asking for help, and we are telling you that this is a place where moment and a movement has to take place, you have to know how we were sold down the river. You have to know how that starts right here. You have to know that the blood of Black and brown people paved this entire state. And I don't just mean the entire country. I mean the way that we are still being looked at as tax credits for this city and its wealthy elite, including Greg Fisher, whose peoples used to steal slaves. So we know exactly who we're talking about. What we're not going to do is give them second chances when they don't deserve a first. So we're not here asking for Greg Fisher to do what the city council says and, maybe you can do better. I don't trust white men to do great at all. What we do need is for him to step out of office and resign, because you have done a shitty job at representing what humanity can look like, a shitty job at protecting Black women, not just Black people, Black women. And we will not continue to keep being stepped on in this city. And you have also done a shitty job as being somebody who's supposed to be the president of mayors. If the mayor's coalition, whoever the hell y'all are, if y'all want that, y'all can keep him, but he's not getting ready to be our mayor. This is so totally embarrassing and ridiculous to watch you with your Band-Aids on your forehead, get up on press conferences day after day and act like ain't shit going on in this city. People are starving. People are homeless. Children are being taken away from their families because they are starving, because they are homeless. This is your city. You fucked up. Not just us. Greg Fisher is still in position to fire any officer for any wrongdoing he's done, not just with Breonna Taylor's situation, for Shelby Gazaway, whose officers got off in July and has terrorized not only just regular citizens, but also our esteemed citizens like our pastors. Also, Damon J. Jordan, also Duantez Mitchell, Tracy Wade, all the people. Jesse Stringfield was killed 2 weeks after Breonna Taylor in front of a hospital in the middle of a pandemic. What type of message does that send to our children? To any age of our children? We have got to put this shit in perspective. Louisville, y'all cannot keep taking this shit. Greg Fisher must resign today, or we'll make sure that he gets up out of office. The last demand that has to happen, and people, we have got to dig into our heels and actually push forward. We can have, and we demand freedom. We have got to open up the investigations that take place, not just only on the police. We're going to have to open this up. It's going to have to be on the city, because y'all making backdoor deals with the devil. I done been into the meetings. I done seen your faces, your favorite little Black leaders all over the place trying to coincide with everybody. We see y'all. We know what y'all doing. Now you got your money. Now you happy? Are you happy? Y'all are sacrificing people. I could care less. So yeah, this is wonderful and great. I'm glad we have come together like this today so we can show people like who is actually making sure that things get done. I am thankful for Chantrice and Casa making sure people know that we don't have any fresh food options. I want to congratulate Jacory for being one of the youngest Black, one of the youngest period city council members, and getting ready to change shit. People are really upset about that. It's no more business as usual. Not today. Not today. And if you're mad about anything that I'm saying, or however I say, or however I show up, that's on you. That's not on me, baby. And I just want to say that because we have been really pressured in this moment to not share those demands that will crush this system. And we have got to be sure that we know that we can do it. We got to know. There are people marching in the streets right now. That's where you should be at. That's what you should be looking at. We are tired. We are tired.
But we want to take the power this hour. So we have to understand this, the national connections, the federal connections, the implications, the Homeland Security folks that are in town right now. The Navy,
the Army, the Air Force,
all of that. We have to
the militia, the freelance militia
implications of this, and the power that Kentuckians, not just in Louisville, but Kentuckians across the state have in this moment to exercise that across the state. What would it look like for young people in these counties? There are counties that didn't have 1,000 people that voted in the primary election. What would it look like if a 25-year-old decided they were going to run for office in one of these counties? What does it look like to get Jacory some help in Metro Council? We got another year to train some folks. We got another year for people to get ready. How many votes did it take to win your campaign, Jacory?
It only took 1,400.
1,400 people.
That's
how many people have 1,400 people in the Metro Council district that'll vote for them? That's the work. That's our work. And we can do that. We can do that.
And I'm going to jump in just in case y'all are just tuning in. We have Jacory Arthur. We have Casa Heron. We have Chanel Helm from Black Lives Matter. We have Tiffany from KFTC. We have Ashley from Advancement Project. We are here talking about what we're going to do because we cannot allow Daniel Cameron or none of his homies to decide what our future looks like. We are all about all about radical imagination. And so the demands we have listed, again, number one is immediately fire and revoke the pensions of the officers that murdered Breonna. Number two, divest from LMPD and invest in community building. In case you don't know what any of those words mean, hit us in the chat. Divest means take all the money, defund police. Number three, immediate resignation or impeachment of Mayor Greg Fisher. He does not care about Black people. If you need some receipts, let me know. Number four, Metro Council needs to end use of force by Louisville Metro Police Department. Police shootings are gun violence. And if they are anti-gun violence, they need to be anti-police. And in case you didn't know, because I know some of us went to public school in Kentucky, we may not have been taught this, police were the original slave catchers. They never even changed the badge. So we need to defund the police. They do not serve or protect Black people. They lock us up. They turn us into slaves again. They are only fulfilling their original mission. Number five is a local civilian community police accountability council that is independent from the mayor's office and the LMPD with investigation and discipline power. That's hashtag CPAC. If you have the police policing themselves, guess what? They will always come down as not guilty. They will always come down as justifiable homicide. I don't know if y'all remember Michael Newby, who was 19, shot in the back from when we were in college. That was over a decade ago, and they're still doing the same thing, but they're letting white supremacists go free and kill people, right? So we have to do that. I'm gonna repeat number five, a local of policy, the creation to ensure transparent investigative process. Daniel Cameron just said about a committee he's put together a task force, and when the reporter asked him about details, he was shaky. Well, no, we're not going for that. We don't need to stutter about our freedom. Okay, I'm very clear that I need to be free. All right, so those are our 6 demands. We're about to get into some action steps. You know, take a deep breath if you need to, because I know it's heavy. All right, so we're about to get into some of our last pieces. I'm going to kick it over to Chanel and Casa for some of our calls to action. I appreciate y'all being here. Supporting Breonna Taylor's family is absolutely essential. If you haven't already, go to the Black Lives Matter page, support. We have a community bail fund.
Another reason why Greg Fisher has said we don't have great Wi-Fi in West End, which is where Chantrice lives at, and that's why she keeps
There's
freezing.
no reason, right? I'm over here by Churchill Downs. There's no reason why Churchill Downs should not be paying for everybody to the whole city to be wired. It's blasphemous.
That's right. Speaking of Churchill Downs, if you see that that link that keeps scrolling down underneath us, it's investdivest.org. A coalition of organizers and groups put that together with our demands, but also some other work that we've been working on, an accumulation of why we need to divest from the policing, which takes over 53% of the budget and damn near 98% of the public safety budget. They increased that this year to 193 million. That's how we knew they were not getting ready to arrest, fire, or do anything to anybody's officers on June 25th. But on that link, you're going to find a tab that says targets. On those targets are people who have funded the Louisville Metro Police Foundation. This Metro Police Foundation is not the FOP, but helps fund the FOP, but also the police. A lot of people think that they go out and they buy kids clothes and bikes. That is not even like 10% of what they do. They do fund weapons, and they do fund a lot of personal needs for officers, and not just because they got shot. So there's a lot of investigation that we're doing, open records requests that are being delayed around like where all this money is going and who is actually funding that. Thornton's gas and convenience store, Churchill Downs, Breland Realtors, White Castles, Wendy's, Park Community Foundation, interesting. And then y'all want to fund poor folks and businesses in the hood. And then a few other folks that have like try to step up, you know, try to build philanthropy as a way to coincide with justice. That's not justice. Justice doesn't buy people off. And so some other call to actions that we have for action is Making sure that if you are spent, because we have been going, right, this is the 119th day of protest for us, to please take a rest. There's nothing wrong with staying in bed. There's nothing wrong with feeling heavy today. Make sure you reach out to somebody. Also, make sure you are talking to somebody, reaching out to somebody. And if you don't, let people know. We also want folks to know that we have a green level action, and that's checking out our media kit at bit.ly/BTAG, all those capital letters, 92320, so the date of today, and just find some narratives there and just push those out and support our partners and other organizers that we organize with. Our yellow action is stand in solidarity. Today is the day that, and we should do this every day, right? When justice fails, lift up your demands wherever you are. Call a statement out, do a press conference, because we know for us to even say something still warrants danger. Go ahead and do that, because we need to let people know what it actually is that we are working on, whether you're a BLM member or you're an actual organization that is working another divest. And best believe that this movement and this moment is about taking money away from the systems that encage us. And that red level action, just as always, shut down business as usual, whether it's a bank, whether it's the restaurant, whether it's the police station, wherever it is, shut it down. Shut it down. You can do it. Get with your folks. It doesn't even take that many people. Disrupt wherever you are. Walk into a restaurant. We call it like disrupting brunch or anything, and just start telling people about what is happening. Yell it. Tell people the demands. We want you to be able to feel comfortable being angry and disrupting. What we don't want is for you to inflict violence that is not going to be able to be handled or accountable. That's not something that we want you to do. I just want y'all to know that. I'm not saying that because I know how people like to come for people, and I ain't got time today. You will get it. Casa, do you have y'all's stuff?
Yeah, I think it's important for folks to get trained up for work. So, connect with BLM and its partners who are providing trainings if you are engaging in direct action, and be sure that there are real security concerns. The times that I've been down at the square, it's real and it's real and it's real. And so don't underestimate that. Be sure you're registered to vote, and be sure that your friends are registered to vote, and that you have a plan to vote. There's some options this year.
Yeah, Kentucky, right, October 5th is our last day to register. Good, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to echo that same sentiment. October 5th is the last day to register for this election. I know there have been some emails with the wrong information. You can always go to KFTC's website, not just because I work there, but because we actually check with the county clerk to make sure we have the correct dates and information. The Alberta Jones Independent Voter Collective is also putting out phone banks and things like that. So please get involved. Change Today, Change Tomorrow is feeding people every day through Feed the West. If you want to volunteer with that, that's definitely a green level action. Please come out. You can reach out to us on social media. If you have the When I Work app, we're there. Donations are always helpful, both food that is non-perishable that you would eat, as well as cash donations, equipment donations, things like that. So yeah, there's a bunch of different actions. I'll be posting all day from my page and from the Black Market page. We also want you to know that your self-care is absolutely vital to the longevity of this struggle. There are free resources for people of color, Black people, Indigenous people who need to have therapy. I mean, I'm in therapy, even though I missed it this week and she probably mad at me, but therapy is absolutely essential. And we have to take our mental health more seriously because the institution of white supremacy is counting on us losing our minds and losing focus. So we got to keep this going. I am going to open up space for folks on the call who haven't already had a chance to talk about some action steps. We're going to read the demands again at the end of this before we go off. I mean, we've been going off the whole time. But it's absolutely imperative that y'all get involved. There's so many ways. If a person from Canada who I just met online 20 minutes ago can get active, you too can get active. It's not that hard. Like Chanel said, you can literally just walk into the most popular brunch spot, even though they probably shouldn't be having brunch like that during COVID, but whatever. Walk into the most popular spot and just read off the demands off your phone, loud as you can. All right, do a bunch of civil unrest. So yeah, I'm gonna open it up for folks. If you have something to add to the action steps, you have free resources for our Black, Indigenous, and people of color and allies. Please chime in now.
Hey, Ashley, I didn't even get to say hi. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having us, AP and me here today. I'll just say that I just want to underscore the call for radical imagination and what's possible for our people, because what we have right now doesn't serve us, it doesn't work, and we're capable of building something better. And Breonna Taylor's life and her memory, she deserves more than what we have right now. She deserves a world where Black women don't have to be worried about being murdered by police in their own homes. And so I would just encourage people to really think about and to really study what's possible. And to the call for a political education home and for an organizing home, those are the places where people are really building a better world and coming up with ideas that are transformational for public safety and for building the types of communities that we all deserve to live in.
Thank you so much.
They've been doing a lot of work with us around police-free.
She be on a roll and then she just freeze. Around police-free schools. We're one of the steering committee organizations. We just gonna roll right off each other. We're one that actually got police out of schools, so yay. And we still don't have police in school, even though we don't have school. We don't know what they're doing, but we know they're not in school with our babies. But we are still very fervent about that, pushing for yet another mental health care worker there, but also making sure that we will prevent and elect school board members to do that work. So that's an important race too. People need to pay attention to your school board members. They are directly influencing any type of protocols and laws, and I said laws, but that handbook and things that happen at the school. So the school level. So definitely check that out. What was you getting ready to say, Chantrice?
Yeah, I feel like this is a tactic they're using against us. The West End definitely does not have good Wi-Fi. But also the big thing I want y'all to recognize is police can be gone from everything. They can go from everything. I'm tired of going to Kroger and seeing the police. I'm tired of going anywhere and seeing the police. They get paid so much to do so little for my community. And so it is absolutely imperative that we have organizations like Advancement Project, Black Lives Matter, all these folks who are working diligently, daily, losing sleep in order for us to be free. So at the very least, some of my white allies out here, some of my POC allies out here can walk into a random brunch and just start yelling our demands. And live stream it if you can, and tag me, tag Black Market at Black Market KY. It is really important for us to continue this every single day. Of course, you could do shifts. You know what I'm saying? Get with your friends instead of going to karaoke, since they trying to, since we can't do karaoke at Nori Bar this week. Instead, we're just going to go in shifts and disrupt. Okay. It is a fun activity. It builds relationships. And I want y'all to recognize that there's so much you can do. We've listed out a bunch of actions, but you can also reach out to us. There's all different levels of actions. But the main thesis is that white supremacy
I don't know she was going with that.
Us.
But I think she's talking about I'm trying to piggyback off of you. I see you. I did want to lift that up. So we had a group of our folks out of the collective call against the gentrification, which we're going to do in every neighborhood. So if you gentrify, we're coming for you. And they did that first in Nulu, who destroyed that area, racially banished several people from Clarksdale, sat down a picnic table, had fun and everything to have a seat and a meeting at the table, because of what they've already issued to those folks. And people called the police on them, lied, which had one of our Black trans leaders, death threats and everything. And all that white woman had to say was, yes, we did call the police on y'all and lied about it. So we have that. It's all on our social media. Amplify that. It's one big win, because a lot of people try to lose a lot of relationships over trying to save people's businesses. And then we saw how important that work was, because Trump decided to retweet that when a Cuban American restaurant decided to call us out on extortion. And that's not extortion. when we're talking about how much money is taken away from Black folks and where Black folks live and where brown folks live at. That is called segregation, and that segregation is built off of genocide. It is the removal of people for profit, and we're saying no more. If you have not followed this case, you have really seen how that type of removal takes place in a place called Russell, a historic place that used to be the epicenter for Black commerce in this city, was railroaded in the 30s, washed away our economic center. And until this day, they are still using Black bodies for profit. And that just happened with Breonna for a expansion that took place with a new street team nobody knew. You know who knew? Greg Fisher knew. And he doesn't care about Black people. Resign, Greg. Resign. You ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, if no one else has some additional points, I'm going to kick it over to Ja'Cory for a little bit of male energy over these demands. And yeah, if y'all want to get involved, there's so many ways to plug in. Please hit us up in the chat. Did I freeze again? Oh, okay, I would listen.
Can I just say one really quick thing that I just someone else said? It's the power of local elections. A lot of people are focused on the presidential race, which is important, but like the Attorney General of Kentucky is elected. That's a local race that really matters. Same with a lot of prosecutors. Those are really big, huge races that really impact the day-to-day lives of the people that we really care about, particularly marginalized people. So making sure to pay attention to those races, and someone said the school board too, those are all incredibly important. And they impact the way that we live our lives. So just paying attention to those as well.
Thanks for bringing that in. There's going to be a constitutional amendment on the ballot this year in around the county attorneys and judges getting an additional 2 years. They're trying to do something where they're changing their schedules, and so I don't know that anybody wants our county attorney to have another 2 years. They already have 6 years. It would expand that to 8. So thanks for bringing in that. Politics are local, y'all. We have to pay attention to what's happening locally and how what is happening locally has impacts on state and national politics.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned before, there's the Alberta Jones Independent Coalition having a call today. You'll be able to check out the Black Market page, Black Lives Matter Louisville, KFTC, and other pages to get the update, to get the links. Ja'Cory, I'm gonna kick it over to you if that's cool, for you to read off the demands again with some bass in your voice, because I ain't got it.
The demands include a wide range of mandates, including immediately firing and revoking the pensions of the officers involved in murdering Breonna, which we saw that failed today on Daniel Cameron's part, on his office's part, divesting from LMPD and investing in the community, building specifically the community that has been terrorized, demonized, and ghettoized for centuries, ever since the fruition of this city. Also looking for Mayor Fisher to resign. He's not doing his job, then he needs to leave his job. We're also looking at police investigations to be looked at as something that is gun violence, not just them getting off and as being isolated incidents, and we're looking at them and victim blaming, but really looking at LMPD and holding them to a new standard. I posted not too long ago about the contract that's currently being negotiated, needing to have zero tolerance for racism, racist posts, destruction of evidence, perjury, sexual activity while on duty. It's a shame that we have to say that to be embedded into the contract for the people who are supposed to, quote unquote, protect and serve us. And as Chanel pointed out earlier, it's because they don't protect and serve us. They never have. And for over 2 centuries, they have been doing this over and over and over and getting away with it. I also saw somebody in the chat or in the comments mention how Chanel has done more than anybody on Metro Council. Our Metro Council has 6 Black council members. It'll have 7 when I take office in January. Why do we not have a Black caucus? A Black caucus that serves the needs of the Black community. And the Black caucus that exists that's not on paper, why don't they meet? How are you supposed to meet our needs if you don't meet as a caucus? And that's very problematic. And it's going to require that level of accountability from our elected officials so that we as a community can move forward and progress. Because oftentimes they only meet when they say something happens. Well, something's happening all the time. We're 78% of the unsheltered people in this city. We're over 3/4 of incarceration, over 3/4 of school suspensions. Something's happening all the time. So we need our Black elected officials to stop being reactive and to start being proactive. Because ain't nobody talking about none of that or trying to do something about it. Nobody's talking about the fact that in 2030, we'll see a mass job loss because of automation and technology taking our jobs and that being moved up because of COVID-19. Nobody's talking about by 2053, Black wealth shrinking to zero because we never had any to begin with, and in some cases we have negative wealth. Our council needs to be proactive about doing that work. Otherwise, we as Black Louisvillians won't even exist in this city that we built.
Well, damn. We're going to close out here in a second. Again, I'm Chantrice with Black Market. We are here discussing what we plan to do because we cannot let white supremacy dictate our response. Much love to Breonna Taylor's family, to Shelby Gazaway's family, to everyone who has been impacted by police terrorism. As we know, they're the original slave catchers and they're continuing to do that job. I'm going to shout out a few donation links. We have the Louisville Community Bail Fund, which should be in the chat. It should be in the messages. We have the Black Lives Matter General Fund, the Anti-Eviction Fund, and our Healing for Louisville Fund. If you want to donate to Feed the West, that's through Change Today, Change Tomorrow. If you need groceries, that is always open. If you need groceries, tinyurl.com/feed the West. All right. You don't have to prove to us you're poor, none of that stuff. You just have to be in the West End and we will deliver free groceries to you. Again, this is Chantrice Martin with Black Lives Matter Louisville, as well as Black Market. Thank you so much to Tiffany from KFTC, Ashley from Advancement Project, Casa Heron, Jacory Arthur, Chanel Helm from Black Lives Matter in Louisville, also Chanel Helm from all the shit that be going on that's positive in the community. We appreciate y'all coming on. Please plug in, please tap in. And if you do a brunch disruption, please tag me in it. Go live and tag me in it and go in there and just yell our demands. Please. Yes. Thank you. Make those donations recurring. Yes. Make recurring gives. We would absolutely love that because the work continues, as everyone has mentioned here. We ain't got too much more.
What's next?
Go ahead, Castle. What'd you say?
I have to ask you, council person, what's next?
Yes.
They did that ceremony.
Hey,
whenever they did that ceremony, now what's next?
Ouch.
And also, if you know Mayor Fisher, ask him what his shirt size is. I keep asking him and he won't respond. He's probably an extra small. I have a shirt just for him. Okay. Dang, he's being so rude.
Give his Band-Aid a shirt too. Can we get his Band-Aid a shirt?
I should. Dope Designs by Nanny will probably make some Band-Aids for him too. I appreciate y'all. Like, try as much as possible to find some joy today. I'm definitely gonna hug my son as soon as I see him. Y'all, this is a lot, but we got to continue with this radical imagination. We can do this and we will do this. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Yeah, and just tap in. Tap, tap, tap.
Hey, it's a Kentucky accent. Oh.
All right. Thank y'all for joining in. Peace.
Oh, that's the homies. Come on, DC. Yes. Mhm. Makia said the sound is off. Maybe make sure we have that link